right, Grand Rising, welcome. Happy Saturday. I hope everyone is well. You are tuned into the Peak Wellness Hour. Super excited as always to have this conversation with you. So as you come in, please hit that like button. Please share because we're going to have a great conversation today. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Grab a pen and paper and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I am your host today, Angelina, aka Queen G. Grand Rising to my Queen Mother, aka Rhonda Thomas. It is a good, peaceful day, and we are going to make sure we make that happen every day, based off the conversation that we're going to have today. So, again, I want you to take a second. If you're listening, if you're in the digital building, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. If you're watching on Facebook, if you tap that hearts and just keep tapping that heart and show us some love and help us grow as far as visibility, that would be amazing. If you're in the building, virtual building, please say hello. Queen Edith is not here today. We send her well wishes and blessings. She had surgery the other day, so she is recovering. I plan to see her here today. So keep her in your prayers as she heals. All is well. So today, this is what happened. It's been a long week, okay? It's been a long week, and I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I actually had a conversation because today is National, I think it's called National New Conversation Day. So I was going to have this conversation with this article. You all can go to nationaltoday.com and find that, but just how to have conversations and build community and networking and just building relationships. So I was going to do that. It's been, like I said, it's been challenging week. And that's just life, right? We have, it's life. So I was going to share with you all some things that I had going on and just kind of empower as I shared my experiences. And I was going through Gaia. I was listening to my Gaia meditations and positive information or whatnot. You all go on the links, Gaia. The Gaia Network is on there if you would like to subscribe, especially after you watch the video that we're going to watch today on choosing to heal. So I was going to go through all this, especially in the field of nursing. Some things have happened this week that I'm not happy with as far as what I deem as proper and adequate patient care. So I'm listening to Gaia. Something says, you all know I like to try to find something relevant on Gaia to share with you all for free. And normally you can watch it for 3 days for free without having to sign up for a paid subscription. This video, unfortunately, I cannot do that with. You cannot share all of their videos from the Gaia Network as if you're subscribed. But I did once I stumbled onto this and I listened to it in its entirety, and it's about 28 minutes. it changed the whole message for today. It changed my mindset. It elevated my mindset. So we're going to watch that today. I want you to take notes. Feel free to engage in the comment section. You know what? We love engagement here. And shout out to King Shawnee White too. He's not been here for a few weeks, so we definitely have to connect again. So I didn't want to count you out, King. So grateful for you and everything you bring to the table. So definitely don't want to count you out on that. I'm so sorry. And thank you for everyone that listens now or on replay. Again, make sure you share. Even if this is over and it brings you value, you can still share this and someone can watch it later on. It doesn't have to be watched on live. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to watch this video. Grand Rising Queen Edith's in the building, in the digital building. Grand Rising Queen, I hope you're feeling well. I will see you soon. So we're going to watch this video. I want you to engage with it. And here's the deal. I'm going to tell you as I put this up really quickly. I'll speak over this if I can find it. I'm going to put the copyright disclaimer up. I want us to be able to watch this in its entirety. That's why I'm not going to keep talking. It's about 28 minutes long, just based off of YouTube and Facebook regulations. This is Gaia's content. That link is in the description if you would like to see that on your own. But I'm going to do an overlay to where you're not going to be able to see the video because I do not want a copyright strike. So we're not going to do that. So under the copyright disclaimer, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, which is what we're doing, scholarship, education, which is what we're doing, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit educational or personal use. Tips the balance in favor of fair use. So there is that. So we're going to do an overlay so you don't see the video. But like I said, you can click the link for Gaia and you can check that out on your own. So I'm very excited. Oh, thank you, Queen. I've had these braids in my hair braided back all week. So I took it down. I didn't know what was going to happen. So this is the outcome. So thank you. And I'm so glad you're doing well. So glad. So here we go. Without further, that's what I was going to say. So with the copyright, I will, with the legalities of whatnot and sharing information, I'm going to be on the safe side, and I'll take moments and pause the video and just kind of do some commentary. Okay. So I'm really speaking to YouTube and Facebook on this one now to make sure it's verbalized that I'm in compliance to the best of my ability. But I do have to share this with you all. And again, I wish I could share it on the link where you can watch it for yourself and dive in and watch the video, but unfortunately I cannot. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you what we're working with here. Okay. So I'm going to stop saying, I'm so sorry. Why people don't heal. Okay. That's what we're going to be watching. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read something. So the belief is that we all want to heal, but the reality is many people fear becoming healthy. Wounds become a part of a person's identity, consciously or unconsciously, and we are not ready to give that up. Caroline Myss believes that we have relied upon the mind to do the soul's task. We have relied upon the mind to do the soul's task. While the mind continues our wounded narratives, true healing belongs to the power of our soul and confronting truth. We need to embrace the mystic power of the soul to truly understand that healing is, in fact, an act of transformation, not a confrontation with an illness. So, you all, again, please like and share this. We are going to dive into this. I'm going to put this overlay up. and we're going to get started. So I'm going to turn my screen off. Yes, I'm going to turn my screen off. Let me see. I might need to close some things. Hang on just a second because I'm lagging here. Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, y'all. I just want to make sure everything's running right. Okay, so let's try this. Hang on. Are we lagging? Let me look and see. Let me know. Okay. I'm sorry. I feel like we're lagging here. Oh, my word. Sweet moon. Okay. Are we back? I am so sorry. So there's something going on with the internet over here. I am so sorry. Hopefully you all are still with me. I am so sorry. So without further ado, we're just gonna get into this video. Okay. Um, we're gonna thank you for sticking around. My queen mother called me and made sure everything was okay. So we're back. So make sure you tell a friend we're back. And here we go. Okay. So we're talking about healing. Let's do this. Let me share my screen again. I had to use I thought it was StreamYard at first. I'm using my hotspot on my phone. So this is what it is. Okay. All right. So like I said, put a one in the chat if you're still with me so I can know you're still here. And here we go. Okay. Put a one in the chat if you're still here. Okay, this is the background we're going to use for this video so that we can just stay in compliance. And if you all are ready, we are going to go. Who's in the building? Let's see. I want to make sure. Okay, Queen Mother's here. I want to make sure everybody's here. Don't anybody miss anything. Okay. Without further ado, let's get started.
One of the greatest surprises for me was I thought everybody wanted to heal. It was such a shock to me to realize that healing is one of the most intimidating journeys of the human experience. Have you ever met someone for the first time? Could be a man, could be a woman. And instantly that person started to share all their problems with you, their aches, their pains, problems they have at work or family, life in general. And you've just met this person. And all of a sudden, you know their entire medical history. Whether consciously or unconsciously, that person is living in wounds. And that power of wounds has become a very seductive social tool. It's powerful social currency, and it's become a powerful language for people today. It's what I call woundology. Now, most of us aren't this obvious about our wounds, or at least we would like to think that we're not. And while we assume that we all want to heal, the reality is that many people fear becoming healthy, and that's extraordinary. That may be hard for you to hear, and you may even actually recoil at the thought that people find being healthy frightening, even intimidating. But in fact, what I've learned is that when we think of being healthy, we have to live up to our fullest potential. And while we like to imagine our fullest potential, actually living it is one of the most frightening things in the world. We've created a social environment, in fact, in which pain has privileges. We expect to be rewarded or compensated for our suffering. And actually, that's what's made us the litigious society we've become. So when our wounds prove to be an effective way of, influencing others or controlling others, healing ceases to be the positive goal that it looks like on paper. And in fact, healing becomes a threat. I mean, this is amazing, but health has never had the clout of a wound. It's an extraordinary thing to think of it. But here's what's truth. You're not meant to stay wounded. What in nature stays wounded? Animals heal, nature heals, trees heal, plants heal. We are never meant to stay wounded.
Okay, really quickly. Grand Rising, King Sean. So glad you're here. Really quickly, what in nature stays wounded? That's something to think about. And to consider how long you've carried your wounds, how long you've been picking at the scabs of your wounds and reopening wounds. Just something to think about. Let's continue.
So why do we? We have to move beyond the consciousness of the wound. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Breaking through a pattern of woundology is equal to or even more rigorous than healing the wound itself, and understanding why it's important can change your life. So what is woundology and what does it look like? And I think the best way for me to explain it to you is to share a couple of great woundology stories and examples. I was meeting a friend for lunch, and this friend was approaching the table where I was seated with a couple of people that I had just met. We were all strangers. And while we were waiting for her, another person came in and asked her if she happened to be free on June 8th. Now, all this individual asked her was, "Are you free June 8th?" And she was looking for a yes or a no answer. But instead, this individual said, "June 8th? Are you, no, that is my incest support group meeting, and I never let these people down. I'm always there on June 8th. I'm always there for them, and we never, ever disappoint each other." And she went on and on and on for at least 2.5 minutes. Now, this individual who had asked the question said, "Oh, okay," and walked away. But I watched a unbelievable display of information roll out of her that nobody needed to know. Within 2 minutes, all these strangers knew that she had been a victim of incest, that she was angry about it, that she was in a support group, but that was just the first layer of the cake. The second was that it was very obvious that her intention in communicating that information was that she wanted them, everybody at the table, to treat her in a certain way because she was a quote victim of incest. She had an agenda. Later, when we were sitting at lunch, I said to her, "I have to ask you a question. Why did you want them to know you were wounded that way?" And I said specifically a victim of incest, because that's so incredibly personal. And she said, "Because I am."
Okay. So, how many of us have had conversations as simple as, "How are you doing?" And you get all of this stuff from someone. And I'm guilty of it. I've done it. I can do that at times, but this is where we're going to bridge that gap today and think more cautiously about how we present ourselves.
Now, that to me opened my eyes, and I began to listen to people differently. That in fact, when we are wounded, when we suffer, part of us immediately engages in who's responsible for this and what am I owed as a result? How should this be repaired in me? Now, we don't realize that woundology has become so much a part of our subcutaneous social tissue, but it has. And we don't realize how much we play the woundology card in our lives, but we do. We live in a society where being wounded and using the wound is deeply supported. And it comes from the idea that suffering somehow or other shouldn't happen to us, that there's something wrong in the whole idea that how could this happen to me? We have an idea deep in our core, if we're a good person, quote, bad things should never happen to us. that we should never be wounded, that we should never have a bad childhood, that bad things should never happen to us in the first place. But if they do, somehow wounds become like a sieve, and that the pain that we have, we get to pass on because we've never done anything in the first place to get this wound. So we get to punish other people with it. We punish people, but we are really raging at God. We are angry that God somehow messed up. There's been a cosmic glitch, and this situation was not supposed to happen. I'm upset that my life is unfolding in a way that I don't want it to, and I need to let everyone know that I am angry. The idea is that if I can get angry enough, that God, like a parent, will finally cave and I'll get what I want. Now understand that this is a deeply primal, organic response. This reaction is based on your ancient tribal soul's belief. How many times have you either done this or has it been done to you where someone's come home from work and said, I've had a bad day, and they've yelled at you, or you've yelled at them, where you've taken the rage or the anger and passed it through you to somebody else? You've used the wound.
All right, let's stop and think about that. And I can tell you, I am definitely guilty of that. That's why I said this watching this morning was so enlightening as I was thinking about the topics that we were going to have today. And it just very simple, common sense things, and I speak about these things, when I've apologized, here recently to my husband, to my mother, I'll call or I'll come home and share things. And whether they seem to be negative or not, a person can only take so much of this extra, this less than positivity, low vibrational. How about that? Low vibrational content and engagement. So yes, when I said, I saw this for me, it's definitely for me, and I hope it is blessing you as well. Let's keep going.
And delivered the rage. And if you had a bad day and they've yelled at you, or you've yelled at them, where you've taken the rage or the anger and passed it through you to somebody else, you've used the wound and delivered the rage. And if you were to heal that rage, you wouldn't be able to pass it on to someone else. I've asked people in my workshops, and I've said, how many of you, when you meet people, make it a point to share your wounds right up front when you meet them, or within the early stages, as a way of saying, if you want to get to know me better, these are the things you have to know about me. You have to know where I was wounded and what my childhood was like, or what my past history was like. You have to know that. And mostly everybody raises their hands and says, yes, that's part of who I am and that's part of my history. And what it does is it establishes a type of wounded intimacy between two people. So they feel like that establishes a kind of wounded language of how to support me and what I expect in terms of intimacy. And without the wound, a person doesn't know how to be sensitive. A person doesn't know how to be protected. And if we don't have that wounded language, we don't know how to also control somebody. You can't expect as much from me because I'm not strong. You have to take care of me. I don't have to fulfill all my responsibilities because I'm not feeling well. It is an extraordinary thing to think that health requires us to be fully empowered. And so the wound, so long as we hold on to the wound, So long as we keep ourselves not fully healthy, then we have an excuse or reasons to not carry our full responsibility in the world or in our life, or to not quite be the full person that we'd like to imagine ourselves becoming. So what has been
Okay, so what are we thinking so far? What are we thinking? What wounds, and you all do not have to share this in the comment section, but what wounds are you holding on to that are disabling you from meeting your purpose, reaching your goals? You know, so what, I had a bad day. So I come home and I complain and whine and moan to my husband, who is so patient, so gentle, so understanding. You know, he's not a pushover at all, but he's not going to argue with you and, all this ruckus. He's not going to feed into that. Okay. So what happens where I say, hey, I noticed that this is the behavior that I am, my behavior is affecting this environment, my husband's environment. Where do we go to what point do we need to be where we desire change? Okay, think about that. Let's continue.
being whole and or in our life, or to not quite be the full person that we'd like to imagine ourselves becoming? So what is being whole and why doesn't it appeal to us? First of all, we don't have a model, a template of what a whole person is. And actually, that might sound extraordinary to you, but it's the truth. We speak about whole, we talk about holism, we talk about body, mind, spirit, but actually, we don't have a iconic whole person that we say that's exactly what we want to be. It doesn't appeal to us because when we think about being whole, what we think about is being invulnerable, being invincible, and not having any entry points to having needs, being emotional, being cozy and huggable. We think about someone who's very Herculean. And so we hold on to our wounds because that's how we stay approachable. That's how we think we stay normal. That's how we think we stay needy. And we can, not just needy, but we can be needed by being wounded. If we become totally healed and whole, no one will need us. And that is an unconscious fear. Like, how will we ever attract anyone to us if we're whole? How will they find us? I mean, if we don't, we actually think that the way we are needed or the way we can be in a relationship is that we must be vincible. We must be wounded. Somehow, that's our key to being partnered.
Okay, so really quickly, I want to share something with you all again. So with my relationship with my husband, we have two totally different backgrounds. We one comes from a single parent household. Still have both parents that love me, but single parent household. My husband did not. Different situations, different experiences. Okay, so uh, in the beginning of our relationship, as we continued to know each other, even after marriage, I had this perspective where my upbringing, my foundation, my truths, my this is who I am. I'm sharing this thing with you, right? But he was not my story was not his story. So when I would have this be in this place where I'm going through this thing, that wounded thing, right? I'm going through this thing, And you don't understand because you did not come from where I came from. You did not experience what I experienced. Does that make sense? So, because of that, that means that he's what? Not relatable, not approachable. So then the behavior continued. And it's the behavior, this is how I feel. This is, you don't understand. But that was unhealed mindset speaking, you know. So I just want to share that with you all. Let's continue.
Secondly, there's a vocabulary that we have to bypass as a whole person. For example, we can't use the word blame. We can't use the word deserve. We can't take the events that happen to us and say that it's anybody else's fault, because it's not.
I'm sorry. One more thing I want to say with that story I just shared. I'm sorry to cut that off right there. But what you don't want people, you want to align in relationships with people, in all sorts of relationships with people, where you can grow and evolve and even heal. Okay. Misery loves company is a true concept. And it's unfortunate. But you have to align with people, like I shared with you with my husband and myself. Why would I want someone that was unhealed or as broken as I was? How is that healthy? See, that's why we don't spew all this negativity and chaos into other people's environments, even if it seems that they allow it to occur. Because now she's talking about blame. So let's let her get back into it.
This is a tactic that doesn't work. These are powerless strategies. The shadow side of the word deserve often comes from a wound, and you will stay deserve.
We have to bypass as a whole person. For example, we can't use the word blame. We can't use the word deserve. We can't take the events that happen to us and say that it's anybody else's fault, because it's not.
This is a tactic that doesn't work. These are powerless strategies. The shadow side of the word deserve often comes from a wound, and you will stay wounded in order to indulge a weakness, for example, an addiction. And by saying that you had a bad day, you deserve to engage that weakest part of you. Pain becomes your ticket, so to speak, because I've had a pain, now I deserve a vacation. I mean, without pain, how will I ever get to Hawaii? You have to evolve beyond the point that
Think about how much in your life, how many times you've said, you know what, I deserve this because I've had a bad day, or I deserve this because nothing's working for me. It's very difficult for us to say, you know what, I'm going to do this because I want to. Because I want to. It's very difficult for us to just go out and say, you know what, I'm going on vacation. Everybody sits around and says, why? What's your reason? Our whole social way of thinking is that we have to have reasons for why we do something nice for ourselves. I get to have a vacation because I'm exhausted, or something bad happened, so now I can balance it with something good. And that's where the wound comes in. I've had a terrible, ergo the word deserve comes in. Wounds have been very, very helpful for us. I was in Moscow one time. It was 30 below zero, and I'm waiting to get on a bus. There's this long line, and 30 below zero is cold. And so all of these people are waiting to get on a bus, and up walks this man to the head of the line, and he's yelling something in Russian, and everybody has to get out of his way, and they backed off, and they let him get on the bus first. And someone that I was with I was at the Battle of Stalingrad. Get out of my way. And everybody did. What he did was he said, I have suffered more than you. Move. And everybody did. He pulled out his wounds. Now, it's really extraordinary that in our suffering, we have this. Life has to balance somehow or other. This wound cannot be for nothing. And so we have structured our lives, and in a sense, we almost hold on to our wounds until we get an explanation. If it's the case that this wound is without reason, that's almost an unbearable possibility. So somehow we must find reason in our suffering. And that is part of the interesting structure of human nature. There's got to be a reason.
Now, I'll share with you all. I have conversations as a life coach. This is why we're learning. This is why I share, because everyone has space to heal and grow and learn and evolve. So a lot of times I had this thing about why. What's your why? My queen mother will, I think I frustrate her sometimes, and my husband, my children too. Well, why this, why that? And it's just because. And this was very enlightening for me. Sometimes, and people have said it to me forever, especially my elders, sometimes things are just what they are. And we have to get to a point where we accept that and we embrace that and we use it toward our benefit, So just something to think about there, and we'll continue.
But what do you do if you recognize you're a woundologist? Are you someone who manipulates with your wounds? And I'll ask you, what's your style? For example, I've said to people in my workshop, do you manipulate with your wounds? Do you, for example, ever say things like, I've had a worse time than you. This comes from my childhood. However it is you manipulate, it causes people to treat you in a certain way. You're a wounded child. Here's a very popular archetype, and I say archetype. The wounded child archetype is one of the most powerful archetypes active in us today. And that pattern in us, from feeling neglected as a child, abandoned, abused, that part can come out and very much participate in your adult life. And you can begin using the pattern of the wounded child in your everyday life, or you could be manipulated by a woundologist. Here's one of my favorite stories. I was teaching a workshop one time in northern Scotland. There was a man in my workshop, and he must have been 70 years old. And everything about him was like a child, everything. So this man, on break time, comes back to my workshop carrying a teddy bear. Now, and he's sitting there, all the women around him started to coddle him like, oh, the poor little guy. This was such a classic example of a wounded child in a 70-year-old body. And I thought, are you kidding me? But it was working. It was working. He had absolutely no intention of ever breaking that pattern. And here's the thing. He was in a workshop with me for healing. He had no intention of healing. Now, here's the paradox in our nature, don't you know it? How often do we look like we're healing, walk like we're healing, talk like it, but we're not. This is what I mean about woundology. We set ourselves on the path of wanting to be healthy, And then we eat the wrong foods. The excuses that we give ourselves to overeat sugar or to not exercise or to not do what we know we should be doing will always come from a wound. So how do you break the pattern of woundology in yourself? First of all, we have to just assume you are, because everybody is a woundologist to some extent. It's just a language we've all learned to speak because it's everywhere. What we have to recognize is that we are reason driven. We need a reason for everything. And that's just the way we are. And that if we don't get a reason, we will dwell in our wounds. So the first thing about breaking woundology is that we have to accept something. There isn't a logical reason for why things happen as they do. There just isn't. It would take a long class in theology and who knows what else. But let's just get to the point of accepting that not one of us is the center of the universe. That the events that happen in our lives are not built around us. That, in fact, while there may be reasons for why things happen as they do, and there certainly are, the reasons why they happen are not built around any of us. They're built around all of us. And so we're all in this together. Forgive.
Okay, let's talk about that really quickly. We're all in this together. Okay. With the Peak Wellness Hour, this is why I've said here recently a few times that we are not, we're about holistic wellness and wholeness and soundness. Okay. So we, as far as the conversation about, that are conflicting, we have to learn how to discuss things and heal from things. But for us to think that we are singled out in any situation. Look at mainstream media right now. Look at any topic: politics, religion, race, gender, sexuality, class, all these things. If we stop and realize that we are all in this together and stop creating chaos out of our pain, out of our wounds, imagine where we could be collectively and individually first, but then collectively. Let's keep going.
Are not built around any of us. They're built around all of us. And so we're all in this together. Forgiveness is the counteract to woundology. It doesn't make any sense to reason. Forgiveness is not something the mind can pull off. It's a mystical act of the soul. It's something that defies gravity. It defies reason. It's the most unreasonable thing you will ever do, because you can't give yourself a reasonable reason to forgive. But it is the one thing that disempowers your wounds.
They give you latitude to indulge the worst part of you sometimes. Think of them as powerful allies in weakening you and allowing you to be carried on the back of others without shame or embarrassment. If you have an agenda of wanting someone to carry your weight, most people won't own that. Therefore, they have to show up wounded and expect to be taken care of. Just like I spoke about in the self-esteem episode, you must develop a reverence for yourself and respect for the journey of healing the wound, understanding that a wound isn't meant to be used as a power object. A wound is a part of life's natural challenges that happen to all of us, and it's up to all of us to use the wound as a means to enhance and build our own character.
Getting out of woundology also takes effort, meaning you can't speak your wound. The opportunities to use your wound will come up again and again, but you have to catch yourself by habit, and you have to stop using your wound when opportunities come up and you realize this is a perfect chance for me to manipulate, to one up someone when someone says, oh, I had this terrible experience and blah, 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 blah. And how maybe it's a classic time where you would say, you think you had a bad day. Well, I have, where you have an opportunity to perhaps focus on something good and empowering that happened to you instead of something disempowering. Now, what if you're living with a woundologist? That switches everything around. Living with a woundologist is like living with a vampire archetype. I mean, they can suck the oxygen out of the room, and you know it. One of the most difficult choices you make is the day you stop responding to the power of their wounds, to the use of their wounds. When the martyr says, do you know how much I have suffered for you? To say, I'm sure you have, but I'm still leaving. The day that their wound becomes something you do not respond to is a huge, huge game changer for both you and for that person. It takes an enormous amount of courage to make a different choice when you are in a relationship with a woundologist. I think personally, one of the most courageous things in the world is to make a choice that changes the dynamic in a pattern between two people. It's not a simple thing to do because you change one pattern, one choice, and the entire dynamic will go in a different way. Remember, nothing in life is meant to stay wounded. We will always end up getting wounded one way or another because we are vulnerable. We're in packages that wound easily, but we're not meant to stay wounded. That's why we repair ourselves so fast. That's why the moment we have the slightest injury, we repair it. Whether it's a break in our skin or a broken bone, everything in our body runs to repair it so that it grows back and is replaced. Nature, the forest, everything, the ocean, everything works to repair. We're not meant to dwell in wounds. And one of the most challenging things about a wound is that it morphs our thinking, and it causes us at the end of the day to think God made a mistake. Heaven made a mistake, that this shouldn't have happened to us. And let me say that sometimes the size of a wound is so extraordinarily brutal, so horrible. I mean, I have come across people who have been wounded in ways that take my breath away. It makes my eyes water when I have to hold on to my heart when I listen to them. And when they talk to me about it, I begin secretly, quietly praying for them as I listen to them. Because I sometimes can't believe what human beings have put other human beings through. But at the end of the day, the choice we have is that we either get bitter or we get better. The choice isn't that we sit back and wait, because that will never happen. I can tell you as a historian, I can tell you as someone who has been in this business forever, that has never happened. Not even Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane got an answer to, why do I have to do this gig this weekend? Nothing. We will never have our wounds explained. We can only go forward and say, somehow in the grand scheme of things, one grand thing true. We are all meant to heal, and you will heal. You will heal. That's what you have to trust is this is a journey we're all in together. So forward you go.
All right, let me get this off the screen. Give me a second so I can get back on camera with you all because I want to hear what you have to say. Hang on just a second. All right. What do you think? How was that? Give me your feedback. I thought that was so powerful. Like I said, just going through in my own, I felt it was so important to share that with you all. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what people around you are going through, but I definitely wanted to encourage you as I encourage myself. And this is what it's all about. This is what Peak Home Care, our Peak Wellness Hour is all about, brought to you by Peak Home Care Associates. So yes, that is what I have for you today. Like I said, that link to Gaia, well, I'll tell you what, the link to Gaia to sign up is in the description. Hang on. I will copy this link. If you want to watch this particular video, I'll put this in the link in the chat. So there's the Gaia link. If you all want to check that out, I don't know if they'll give you a free trial. It might be 7 days free trial or whatnot. I think it's like 10 some a month or whatnot. So it's definitely worth it. Thousands of content on there about all sorts of things. So what did you all think? Give me your feedback. Not sure who all's in the digital building. Make sure you're hitting that like button. If you're on Facebook, make sure you hit those hearts multiple times. Keep tapping those hearts. If you're on Facebook, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Again, if you are watching this live and you think this can bless someone, please send this to them via email, via text. Tell them they have to watch it because it's super important. I'm going to stop saying that's something I'm working on also. So you all bear with me. We're going to get ready to get out of here. I wanted to ask you all real quickly, those that are listening, please give me really quickly some ideas that you would like to hear as topics for the Peak Wellness Hour. Any ideas you have, whether it's finance, spirituality, health, business, whatever. You all know that we do a variety of things here, so we will stay within the scope of our practice. I know Queen Edith has been touching on addiction as she's going through her degree and doing her internship at an addiction community. So she's talked about that. That's something you want to hear about, whether it's for you or a loved one. If there is something on, like I said, health, as far as us being in the healthcare field, a whole lot of things that we can dive into and that we're going to dive into. Meditation, spiritual mindset. What would you all like to hear? Let us know, because we want different ideas. We want to bring you the content that you value, that makes a difference to you. So let us know in the comment section. Even if you're watching on replay or we're done with this live, you can still put those in the comment section and we will go back and read those comments and oblige to you. So that is all I have. I am going to tell you this. If you are in the Indianapolis area, I'm going to drop this link as well. For the Crooked Creek Alert of Indianapolis, if you're in the Indianapolis area, I want to invite you today to join us virtually via Zoom from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know where you all live, but here in Indianapolis, we have a situation with the electricity company. We have AES hiking up the bill. They're trying to charge an additional $170 per residency as a base pay to cover whatever infrastructure costs or whatnot they have going on. So we have someone coming from 12 to 2 p.m. virtually to have a conversation about what's going on with AES and how we can rally together and raise our voices about our finances and our generational wealth and our financial well-being. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Crooked. And like I said, it's on Zoom. So you all can check that out. There we go. So yeah, if you are in the area, even if you're not, you want to know what's going on. If it's happening here, it's happening somewhere else. So we'll have somebody representing that. That is all I have. I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I'm going to play this promo. I'm going to do some more promos too. So just stay tuned for that. But I'll play this one. This Peak Wellness Hour is brought to you in part by Peak Homecare Associates, located in Noblesville, Indiana. So this is why I have Queen Edith do this, because she does it like no other. So there's information on the screen. If you need non-medical home care in the Indianapolis area, you definitely want to check out Peak Homecare Associates. I am going to share this broadcast while you all, or this promo, while you all take a second again and tell me what topics you all want to hear and want us to touch on. So you got about 2 minutes and we're going to get out of here. Let me know what you all want to talk about.
Are you caring for an aging loved one and feeling overwhelmed? Let Peak Home Care Associates give you the break you deserve. Our respite care services provide compassionate, professional support right in your loved one's home, so you can recharge with peace of mind. Whether it's a few hours, a weekend, or longer, our trusted caregivers are here to help. From medication reminders and meal prep to companionship and personal care, we treat your family like our own. Take care of yourself while we care for them. Call Peak Home Care Associates today at 317-863-0832 or visit peakhomecareassociates.com, because everyone deserves a helping hand. Peak Home Care Associates, care you can count on, relief you can feel. Are you caring for an aging loved one and feeling overwhelmed? Let Peak...
All right, I had it looped, my bad. So that is who we are. I don't know what that means. Okay, let me know. So yes, that's all we have. Got to get out of here. Like I said, make sure you check the links in the description. Make sure you it's all right. Make sure you all also go to my Clearest Conscious website. A whole lot of things going on over there. I'm going to update some things. I want to thank you all for being here again. Pray for keep Queen Edith in your prayers and your thoughts in a positive note. Please like and share this video. Go back and see what else we have going on. We are growing. We have some exciting things going on the rest of the year. So we want you to be a part of that. We are so grateful for when you all take the time to be with us every Saturday. And we are here every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you all, one more thing, if you all don't see us on, and you're on YouTube, go to the post. And we'll post if we're not going to be on. So if you don't see us I know we be late sometimes. If you don't see a post that we're getting on and you wonder what's going on, go over to the post and we'll post something to say that we're not going to be on, so that you all are aware of that, because we do get calls like, what's going on? What's happening? Like 2 weeks ago, I wasn't on. I needed some me time. So yes, that is how you can find that out. Meditation topics. Thank you, Queen Mother. We will do that. We will certainly do that. So yes, you all, whether now or later, make sure my pleasure. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Make sure you all look back and see what else we have. Consider checking out Gaia. Great content, great learning tools for you. So if you're spending money on Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff and just watching the same junk, Gaia is well worth the $10 a month. So stay tuned. Please subscribe. Keep updated with us, because we will be doing some fascinating things this year. So we wish you peace, love, and blessings. Until next time, Take care.